Tishan Queen. And the mare will complete the line with Paul Harvey on board. Bred to Flirt the fave for Crown Perth. Almost set race 5 at the 1300 metres. Racing now. Whoa, slow out, missing it, high precision, 2-3 lengths away at the back, and beginning well was Wisecracker and also Rogue's Point, and they vie for the early lead with also going forward Ian Special and Real Senor. Just getting back now to 4th is Wisecracker on the outside of Starring Night. Then comes Bred to Flirt. She's racing in the clear, 2 lengths in front of His Eminence, a length and a half away to High Precision, now third last when they'd left the back straight from Tishan Queen the outside. A Military Beat is the last one, 700 to go. Ian Special out in front with Dyson coming up towards the 500 metre mark, leading a couple of lengths on Rogue's Point and Real Senor the outside. Wisecracker's a length away 4th, followed by Starring Night on the inside of Bred to Flirt. 2 lengths to His Eminence, a length and a half Tishan Queen around High Precision, and Military Beat sees them all at the corner. 400 metres to go, coming into the straight. Ian Special leads the grey Rogue's Point. Real Senor and out wider, giving chase is Bred to Flirt, going up on the outside of Wisecracker, and then Starring Night, who's back there on the fence. Leader though still is Ian Special. Coming after him Wisecracker. Bred to Flirt on the outside, down towards the 100 metre mark. Bred to Flirt has raced up, gone to the lead with Wisecracker. Bred to Flirt and Wisecracker. Rogue's Point and Starring Night late, but it's Bred to Flirt. Bred to Flirt gets there, wins a half a length to either Wisecracker, Starring Night. Rogue's Point has run 4th, Ian Special close up. Military Beat, His Eminence, and Water Out Tishan Queen. Real Senor tied, finished back second last and beat only High Precision past the post. Bred to Flirt, favourite, just too good for Wisecracker and Starring Night. And Bred to Flirt, number 6, Brad Parnham for Chris and Michael Gangemi, settled midfield and wide around the turn into the straight with Wisecracker. And she's able to just draw about a half, 3/4 in front at the line from Wisecracker, Starring Night and Rogue's Point. Ian Special, who worked at the front, has finished back in about 5th placing. So Bred to Flirt, the mare, number 6, is by Gingerbread Man out of Naughty Affair and raced by D. Alquist, Miss Kay Hanks, L. Baker, BFA Racing, and Gangemi Thoroughbreds. Brad Parnham for Chris and Michael Gangemi, number 6, Bred to Flirt. Wisecracker jumped well and then settled in about 4th or so placing as the numbers are now coming through. 6, 11, 3 and 9. And it's 3/4 by a long head. The margin, 3/4 a long head. 1:18.15 is the time. 1:18 and 1:05 the time. So Bred to Flirt from Wisecracker. The runner-up, the 5-year-old mare by Galar out of Wise Talk, raced by D and Mrs. J. Harrison, G. Stewart, G. James, D. Carey, Mrs. S. Richardson, D. Moylan, P. Menchetti, A. Sarich, Mrs. L. Carter, and G. Donovan, along with Mrs. M. Donovan as well. And that's about 7 minors now for Wisecracker. 3/4 off the win. And a long head from second was number 3, Starring Night. Luke Campbell for Dan and Ben Pearce. The gelding of 3s by Shooting to Win out of High on Love. And 4th across the line was number 9, Rogue's Point, the grey. The last 600, 36.93. 36.93 for the last 600. Winner coming back, and that winner is Bred to Flirt with Brad Parnham this time for Chris and Michael Gangemi. As we go down now to the mounting yard, here's Britt Taylor.
Thanks, Matt. I have Chris Gangemi down here in the yard, and Scott said pre-race it was the last chance for Bred to Flirt, and so often when you say that, Chris, they get up, and today was her day.
Yeah, look, their race, Britt. On paper, she drew a good gate, and she just reproduced her last run. She was going to be hard to beat, and yeah, she actually missed a little bit of work on in her last run, so that was probably why she loomed up and didn't win that day. But no, she deserves this. She's no champion, but she's a nice little consistent mare, so it's good to get another win on the board.
The reason for missing that little bit of work ahead of that last run?
I just had a hoof abscess, but only for a couple of days, but it was enough to miss a gallop, and might have just cost her the win last start. But yeah, no, today she's had a good couple of weeks, and 11 out of 10 ride from Brad, got the money.
Speaking of that ride, what were you thinking in the run? Because they're running along up front and she just looked like she was beautifully positioned.
Yeah, couldn't have ridden it any better. She probably needs a little bit of speed on early so she doesn't over-race. And no, timed his run to perfection and yeah, the ride won the race, I reckon.
She's a sweet deal later in the day. What can we expect from that mare first up?
She's good enough to win if she puts her mind on the job. She trialled without blinkers and they go on today. So as long as she can make up ground later in the day, she should be storming home, hopefully.
Well done on this one.
Thanks, Britt. Cheers.
There is Chris Kangemi after the win of Bred to Flirt. They've had to wait 400 days for this victory, but as Chris said, she has been a consistent sort of mare and good to get one on the board with her, courtesy of that 10 out of 10 ride from Brad Parnham.
Well, it's a pretty similar run and ride to last start, Britt. Today she was able to get down the outside and get over them. There was 3 or 4 across the track last start, and it wasn't quite her day, but today, Bradley, it looked like things were panning out perfectly.
Yeah, it was. Actually had a really good run. She settled really well and, yeah, felt the winner a long way out, and, yeah, it was good for her to get the job done.
Speed on today seems as though she settled a little bit better.
Yeah, it definitely helps with the speed being the way it was, but I think she's probably getting a little bit better in herself and her manners anyway.
What about Look Up in the next? Know anything at all about him?
Well, I don't really know a lot about the horse. Obviously, I've watched the replays and I spoke to Marty this morning. So, yeah, it was a pretty impressive win last start. So if it can reproduce that, it's got to go close.
Best of luck on a double. Well done.
Thank you.
There is Brad Parnham, pilots Bred to Flirt to victory, taking out the Crown Perth handicap.
Preacher man.